Well, we're here sitting down outside in front of this giant flaming pegasus that is a pretty amazing piece of art right in front of center camp. What inspired you to make this giant mechanical horse?
So I've been sculpting horses for basically 10 years, as long as I've been sculpting metal. Um, and I made my first mechanical horse about 5 years ago, just a life-size mechanical horse. And last year, before leaving to Burning Man for the first time, and I was bringing artwork with me, going to Burning Man for the first time, and they were all older pieces. But in that moment of like about to head on a big road trip from New York all the way across country with truck and trailer, camper, 3 sculptures, I had the inspiration to make something really big and epic for the year afterwards, and apply for the grant, and just make an incredible giant flaming pegasus.
Oh, it's definitely magnificent. And I noticed I wasn't expecting the fire because I saw it the first day here, and then it wasn't until later in the week that you lit it on fire. Did that all work out as you planned?
Yeah, this is actually the first time that I'm using fire in a sculpture. Propane flame effects. Not the first time fire, but first time propane flame effects. And one of the main other builders who helped me build this and engineer it, his name is Tom West. He built the wings, the aluminum wings, back in his shop in Maine, and he did all the flame effects. So he installed them out here onto the wings before we picked it up with the crane and installed it up in the air.
Nice. And how much propane did you have to go through to get that working?
We were originally estimating, we have like 4 100-pound tanks, and we were estimating to go through all of them every night, estimating maybe like $4,000 worth of propane. But those 4 tanks lasted the whole week, which is great.
And so are you going to continue to add fire and incorporate that into your horse artwork?
That depends. The fire is like very specific to this piece and to Burning Man. But if I do, show this piece in other festivals or back at Burning Man again, there will always be the fire element. And yeah, I will, now that I have a better idea of how to use fire and how to make a fire system, I might consider using that in future artwork for sure.
What are some of the challenges you came across while trying to incorporate, those propane lines and getting it all with the mechanics of this horse?
That wasn't a big challenge. It's just like adding, I could have been adding lights to it. It's just running lines all through it, just having them flexible at the joints. There weren't that many challenges in the propane. There were just a few things I had to change to pass the fire inspection here at Burning Man, and that's just moving the rubber hoses really out of the way of the flames, keeping in mind that the wind might blow the flames in the other direction, which happened most of the time actually. But there weren't really any big issues with that.
Now the mechanics on the inside, the clockwork machinery is really impressive. I'm assuming a lot of that was all custom parts and fabricated from scratch.
Yeah, so like I said, I built my first mechanical horse about 5 years ago, and that took me 2 years to figure it out, get a working model that could then travel and be exhibited. So this is, 5 years later, still perfecting the mechanism further, and in this case, almost all the steel of the horse is custom laser cut. Mm-hmm. So I spent about 3 months designing the entire project and re-engineering every piece, all aspects of it, so that all parts can be custom laser cut, and then I would fabricate and weld all those pieces together. So it's all engineered to be fabricated and assembled as easily as possible, and to have parts self-aligning and self-squaring, which is always a big issue and a time consumer in metalwork, metal fabrication. So just, yeah, 3 months of designing and 3 months of building.
Hmm. How much welding did you have to put into this?
I mean, not an incredible amount. A lot of it is just tack welded.
Hmm.
You know, one of the big issues with welding is that metal warps when you weld it. So there is a lot of welding, and like maybe the most difficult parts to fabricate were the crankshafts, which are like what you would find in an engine, just a similar design like what all the pistons make turn, the big crankshaft. Like I had to fabricate, you know, like a very large, like 4 very large ones, and those power the wings and the front and the back legs. Um, and there's a lot of welding involved, and you know everything has to be extremely aligned and precise and square, and it's basically impossible to get it perfectly square, but you can get it close enough. And it's very important in designing something like this, a one-off art piece that's mechanical, that there's room for error, room for things moving around, for not being perfectly square, because otherwise, you know, to get like a perfectly aligned crankshaft, you know, they cast those, or they precision form them in giant factories. So
Hmm.
I had to, you know, engineer and get around that to make it as
Did you have a couple trial and errors and some
um
different designs and blueprints?
no, I had one shot, you know. I had
Yeah.
I had just a few months to do it, and obviously there were some things I had to change or redo, but I had really one shot and very limited time
Hmm.
to do this.
Even getting all the circuitry hooked up, I got some video of all the wires and the nest you had underneath there.
Yeah, well, since we were originally planning to have this sculpture out in the playa running off of a generator, we decided to go with a DC golf cart motor system that could run off of batteries, and we would have a smaller generator recharging the batteries. If we had done like a regular AC motor, we would have required like a much bigger generator to just be running constantly, uh, while the sculpture wouldn't be necessarily running constantly. So, um, so there are a lot more parts and controls for that whole DC motor, all taken from like a golf cart from the 80s that I got off of Craigslist. And it's just a 2 horsepower motor, so it's really little for that amount of torque requirement. I mean, there are huge amounts of torque, like just pushing those wings up, and but it did it. It really worked. Really worked really well.
And so, where'd you get your start with learning how to weld and also just doing mechanical design and engineering?
Um,
Did it start from this project, or from making horse art, or?
no, so it started about 10 years ago. I was just bouncing around the states, doing all sorts of different jobs, working outdoors, and I've always had like a curiosity for metalwork and welding. Um, and so I eventually went back to New York City, where I'm from. I did a lot of violin making with my father. He's a violin maker. That's where I get a lot of my hands-on craftsmanship. And then I also just started to learn welding and metal sculpture at the Art Students League in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it all began.
Wow, that's incredible. And that led you all the way out here now.
Yeah, just projects. You know, no real college education or anything. Just learning as I go, and just
Hmm.
all sorts of various projects that I would just dive into and learn as I went.
This Pegasus is definitely incredibly impressive to stand next to, witness. I hope if anyone listening, you get a chance to see it or check out the video. Um, what was some of the reception you got from just some of the people here in the playa, and some of the kind words or things people said to you? If anything comes to mind.
It was incredibly well received. Multiple people in tears, crying. Dozens of hugs. Really, I mean, I couldn't ask for more. I couldn't ask for a better venue or environment for its debut. It was extremely well received, and everything just went really smoothly. We arrived here on time. We set it up. Everything worked, and then one of the most rewarding things for me is just to see how people are captured by it, and how it captures like their inner child,
Hmm.
because the way the look in their eyes when they just stare at the piece while it's in action, it's just like a child that sees something for the first time, and it just captures that. And I think it relates to where I'm coming from. Like, I'm coming from like a pure childlike excitement and energy in building this project, just like pure love for building things and creating something that's just something amazing.
That's awesome. It even when it moves, it captures all the movements of like a horse perfectly. How did you get all those body contortions and movements just right with the mechanics? That I mean, even the timing on that.
So most of that happened 5 years ago when I made my first mechanical horse, and so that took 2 years. And the way I did that, figured it all out, is I found a video on YouTube of a horse galloping in slow motion, dissected it frame by frame, in order to map out the movement of all four legs and the back and the neck, just the entire movement of a horse, working also with the skeleton of a horse. So this is pretty much like all the joints are as close as possible to an actual horse skeleton. Um,
Wow.
and so I would dissect like each leg, each section of a leg. Like you have the hoof, the what would be the equivalent of your foot, the ankle, your tibia, and then your knee, and then your femur. All each of those parts move a certain angle. Say your ankle is going to move like 30 degrees, your knee is going to move 40 degrees. So just each joint is going to move a certain angle, and then that can be translated into a mechanism with cranks that push it, and then it just all needs to be synchronized, and that'll give you a nice gallop. So, and the goal of that was obviously to replicate it as close as possible.
Hmm. And then the wings. Like, I mean, you're making a mythological creature. What did you look for inspiration for doing that movement?
So the wings is a completely new element, also like the fire, but way more complicated than the fire.
Hmm.
And I had to completely re-engineer everything to accommodate the wings and to accommodate the scale. The wings, I think I made like a first sketch when I was on the plane, going to meet this engineer, Tom West, in Wyoming earlier this year in March or something. Just made a quick sketch, and then just a lot of computer models and trying to figure out how to make that work. And Tom West managed to make a computer model on SolidWorks,
Hmm.
of the wings flapping. So that's how we found that's how we finalized all the geometry of the wings.
That's fantastic. One of the things that was most impactful for me was the sounds that this thing made with the machines and the turning of the gears and the rolling. Did sound design go into its concept? Did you try to embrace it or enhance it or nullify it at all? Or
No, not at all. That's just a byproduct of it, and a byproduct of the playa. Especially the sounds got more expressive
Mm-hmm.
after it running over the days.
A little more squeaky with all the dust building
Yep,
up.
absolutely. And it still worked fine. It worked till the end, which is really amazing and so great because I've definitely spent a lot of time fixing my mechanical sculpture. This thing just worked beautifully, despite being covered in dust and the chains. What's great about the sprocket and chain is that it doesn't really need to be greased. It can run pretty dry. And obviously after Burning Man, I'll lube it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the sounds, yeah, it just came on their own, and I think people really like that as well, and it added more mechanical detail to the whole thing. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Um, do you have any? Have you gotten any inspirations or ideas from being at this burn for maybe your next project?
Uh, hmm. Probably not yet. I've just been so focused and overwhelmed with this piece
Mm-hmm.
and bringing it here and taking it down now, and I still have to store it somewhere. It's a whole job to just pack it up.
Mm.
And
So
I
you haven't found a home to put this on, or you don't
Nope.
have a next schedule to put it on display?
Nope.
Oh, well, if anybody's listening and would like to possibly get in touch with you
Yeah.
about setting up a fire Pegasus in their home, or what is the proper name of the piece?
Wings of Glory.
Wings of Glory. Where can someone get in touch with you or find a website or some videos of this?
Anyone can go to adrianlandon.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. You can find all my contact information. Yeah, this piece is for sale, or it's available for any events or festivals.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Do you need a crane to set it up every time?
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking.
A
You got
big crane.
You look like you have a really great crew of people here helping you out.
I have an amazing crew. I've been really blessed by the people, my crew here, and all the other people. So many people helping me so much on this project. Like I've never experienced anything like this before, and I'm so touched by that. So amazed. Just so many people giving their time and energy to make this work. My friends Lana and Dada, who are both burners. They approached me back in February when they heard that I was going for this project, and they helped me. They made my Kickstarter video to raise money for it. And my friend John Deal, who lives in the Reno area, spent like an entire month helping me 5 days a week to build this towards the end. And just so many other people helped so much.
Wow, it definitely shows an amazing piece of art from a lot of talented minds put together
Yeah.
and pulled it off. That's wonderful.
Yep. We did it. Mission accomplished.
Do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share for a young mechanical art sculpture maker out there?
Well,
Where should they start?
where should they start? Learn to do metalwork, because you can really do a lot with metalwork if you can kind of master or get a good idea of, all the basic aspects of metalworking. Blacksmithing, welding, forging, machining, just all those different aspects. And you just do projects like it all comes from the love of making things. Like you just make a project that challenges you, that will force you to learn things, and you will definitely mess up and have to do it again, and that's just part of it. This is part of learning. Yeah, and you just build your way up, and everything you learn, you'll use that skill eventually, and it'll all like this project required almost every single skill that I have like electrical, project managing, just everything, and every skill you have will be useful, and it all comes from the heart. It all comes from what you love, and if you this for me, this comes from just I absolutely love to make things, and I love to learn how to, any kind of skill that goes towards making things. So that's where it all has to come from. It has to come from like a true passion, something that really excites you. And it doesn't mean it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna grind your gears. Blood, sweat, and tears. All that is for real.
Hmm.
But it's worth it.
Well, you still have all your fingers, so you look like you're doing good.
Yeah, just a couple scars here and there.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing your artwork in the future, and especially if you have put any more big fire, I'll definitely want to get some great video of that going forward. I shot some awesome video last night of you lighting up the Pegasus and getting some movement, and I'll definitely be putting that on my YouTube channel for people to check out.
Sweet.
Anything else you want to say to a bunch of Pyro fans out there?
I also want to say thank you to Burning Man. I feel like I don't know if I would be able to have made a piece like this if it weren't for Burning Man, for a venue like this. I feel like there are many different there are a few different aspects of the art world, and it can be kind of confusing and discouraging to think that there's only to kind of like try to be in, like, for instance, the high art world, where like you have galleries and all these big art fairs that are run by galleries and stuff, and all like this doesn't fit into that world. Maybe it will now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe galleries would approach me after seeing this, but I could have only made this for Burning Man. So I'm extremely grateful for Burning Man and for this artistic environment. And so just to say that there are really different worlds out there, and like the high art world shouldn't be what dictates what you make. It has to come from what you want to do, and obviously you have to, everyone still has to survive and make a living off of it, but there are many other ways and venues to make artwork, and to be able to stay true to yourself.
Well, it sounds even like crowdsourcing is definitely a good resource, and mainly just having a strong collective of people with multiple skills around you seems to be the most important thing. It was really just like a tribe to help get this thing here.
Yeah.
And all started from idea. That's fantastic, man.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fire now. You got my attention. Is something burning?
If you want to support the All Things Fire podcast, head on over to patreon.com and search for Morgan Floki. Thank you for all your support, travelers. Have a great day.